Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Life in Comedy. I'm your host, Will Beckton. This is a show about comedy and apparently people who used to live in Chicago. My guest today is Andy Richter. Andy came up in the Chicago Improv Scene, performing at Improv Olympic and the Annoyance Theater. In 1993, Andy was hired as a writer on Late Night with Conan O'Brien and was Conan's sidekick on Late Night, as well as The Tonight Show and Conan on TBS, which is where we met. I can't think of many people as respected as Andy Richter is in the comedy world, and I really appreciated the chance to catch up with him. I'm here with Andy Richter.
Hi.
Thanks for doing this.
Sure. Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. You and I know each other from the Conan days.
That's right.
Where I worked. You were there, obviously, pretty much the whole time except for one stint.
Yeah, I was on Late Night from 93, which is when it began. And then I left in 2000 and I came out here and I was out here until the Tonight Show. So whatever, like 9 years.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
on the show for 7 and off the show for 8-ish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the off period was that long.
You know what?
Yeah.
When it became that I was off the show longer than I was on the show, it actually it stung a little.
Oh.
I was like, oh shit, like, oh no, it's
That's
like
interesting.
because after I was gone and they were on for 2 years, it's like, okay, go ahead, limp along without me. But then after a while, it's like, oh fuck, I've been gone as longer than I was on, and this is the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
I always said I didn't want to be Ed McMahon, but then it was like, well, I guess I'm going to be fucking Ed McMahon. Oh, well,
Yeah. So you grew up in Illinois, right?
I did.
And then you went to film school, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool because I always remember back in the Conan days. You wouldn't really hold it over people, but I remember if somebody was not coiling a cable correctly, you'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you get the programming, that kind of programming that you do stick. I coiled a cable in the podcast studio the other day, and Rich, our engineer, was like, the next day was like, I saw you coiling that cable right. And I was like, yeah, some of the little habits you get to know. And
it's like a little code or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it also, too, I wanted to be in show business, but it was not anything that I could really admit.
Yeah.
I was from a small town in Illinois, and it just seemed way too self-aggrandizing.
Or almost silly or something.
Like frivolous and sort of vain. And but I wanted to do it. I was, I knew I was a pretty good actor, even on our shitty little high school plays. I enjoyed it, and I was funny. I come from a funny family, and I knew the value of being funny, not just you could get things from it, but it just makes life nicer, and so I wanted to do something in show business, something creative. I went to University of Illinois and I was studying communications, which ended up making you a reporter.
Yeah.
And I just realized this isn't the place for me. So I transferred to Columbia College.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford New York or Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really good school. And it's gotten really much bigger. But at the time, it was this very small kind of arts college in the South Loop in Chicago. You were taught by professionals. And it was still film. We shot on 60 millimeter film.
Yep.
We edited by hand.
Did you edit on a flatbed, like a Steamback?
The first thing we did was with a razor blade.
Oh, wow.
And hand reels and a little, I don't even remember what you call it.
The viewer.
Yeah. And then as you got into the higher levels of film, you would go onto an actual flatbed, a Steamback or something like that.
Yeah.
And then our video, too, was at that point was half-inch video.
Yep.
It was all analog. So we would have to cut A-B.
Yeah, it's stressful because your decisions matter.
Yes,
You don't want to redo
it. Because you're stacking plates.
Yeah,
and if you decide, oh no, this plate is too long, you're fucked. You got to go.
Yeah.
And when I was in film school, I started to act because you kind of would round robin the jobs.
Yeah,
you'd break into a group and you'd shoot a little nothing script. Somebody'd write it, somebody'd shoot it, somebody'd light it, somebody'd be in it.
Yeah.
You just sort of rotate the roles around. I had a facility for acting and people started to notice it and they started to ask me to be in their student films. And I was in a lot of student films.
This reminds me of, I went to school in Texas.
Yeah.
I went to UT for the film program.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't always have to be a funny person, but once somebody's like identified as like a good actor, by the time the end of semester screening rolls around, he's
they're
like
in
every.
Yep. No, that was very much the case. And you'd have a screening day in a class, and after the class, like, I imagine it's what it's like at Sundance.
Yeah.
3 people come up, listen, I'm shooting something, So I did a lot of student films. And I got an internship at a production company that made television commercials.
Oh, cool.
And that just sort of then transitioned into me working on set, on commercials. Before I had to quit working in film because I had to devote myself to performing.
Yeah.
Because I started to do a show that I couldn't have a freelance film career. Improv was great for a while to have, where it's like, there's a Sears commercial and you're going to be working for 2 weeks. Sorry, guys, I can't make it to the improv show, but there's 9 of you. So it's like, But when I got on a show where, I had a role and I had helped write.
Was this the real life Brady Bunch?
No, it was a show called, I wish it was called something else. It was called Ayn Rand Gives Me a Boner. And it was a guy named Gary Ruderman whose name is different now. But it's like he liked Ayn Rand, and I didn't even know that much about Ayn Rand at the time. It was at the Annoyance, and they were very sort of like, there was a show called like Your Butt.
Yeah.
So they were very sort of childish titles, and that was the title. But we would put together shows through improvisation.
I love that show as a reason you can't do something.
I know.
I'm sorry, guys.
I've got Ayn Rand Gives Me a Boner. What it resulted in was that I was on film sets starting as like student films when I was like 20 years old, and on a regular basis was on a film set. That was my workplace.
Yeah.
And that's my workplace. That's, that's
like home.
Yeah. I mean, writers' rooms too, to an extent, but being on set certainly feels more like, this is my job. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I really did appreciate about it, like you said about the coiling cables, is that it did give me a much more holistic understanding of what making a movie or a television show or a commercial or an industrial video or you fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. I understood more what it was. And I would work with actors who would be mad and impatient and what's taking so long? And I would just think, you have no fucking clue as to what's
changing setups.
Yeah, you don't know. Because you don't understand anything other than your pampered little room. Yeah. Your little world with your own room and your own toilet. It's like everybody else here is working hard, Do
you want to look good? They're making the lighting look good.
Yeah. Although I still do get impatient sometimes with the lighting, especially in comedy, because I do feel like it doesn't have to look that good. That's not,
Or that specific.
Yeah.
Can't we just do some general, everybody's kind of looks
can't
good?
Can't we just see
lighting?
Their face? Yeah. We don't need them to look gorgeous,
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Annoyance, because I was curious about, since I've been doing this podcast, Chicago has been a major theme as far as just how influential that town is and people that came out of that town. So you did Improv Olympic, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because I happen to have...
I saw that.
Truth and Comedy, which, I mean, in my mind is kind of like the text.
It is. For long-form improv, it is kind of there are other books that have come after it, but this is sort of where what modern long-form improvisation is. That's the first time somebody put it down into real words.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know that I've ever read that thing cover to cover. Because
you're on the back cover.
I'm on the back cover. I definitely have read that.
Yeah.
But it's all the stuff that I learned in class.
Yeah.
So, it's like if you can already drive a car, you're not going to sit down and for fun read the rules of the road. You know what you're doing. But the rules are very useful and very important and applicable across different things. Like one of the rules is that of an improv group, that no one player is more important than the group or more important than any other player. The sort of theater version of that is that all the actors are slaves to the text.
Yeah.
We're not here thinking about ourselves. We're thinking about getting this thing out into the audience's minds.
Yeah.
I still very much believe in that.
Yes.
And feel that straying from that is a source of a lot of problems.
Yeah.
A lot of problems that also, too, like aside from making your day long, like people being babies and taking forever doing stuff, aside from making your day long, it makes the thing shitty. Don't be a baby. Make everybody's day easy,
I think some of it comes from a lot of times when people see improv for the first time, they're like, wow, that's so amazing. Those people like had that line ready to go or whatever that. It's like, no, they didn't have that line ready to go. They were listening to their scene partner, and then that line occurred to them because they were listening to their scene partner.
When you're really doing it, and when I was really doing improv, maybe 6 nights a week at one point. And
was this all at I.O. or was
it was in Chicago, but at different places.
Okay, so did you do Annoyance?
I did Annoyance and I.O. at the same time, and then we all left I.O. and kind of formed our own group for a minute called the Comedy Underground that then morphed into something else.
Was Matt Walsh Annoyance?
Yeah. Matt Walsh was Annoyance and I.O. Same as me.
Okay.
He was one of the few people, and there was a lot of like...
There was rivalries, right? Between the different places?
I mean, stupid ones.
Yeah.
But because... the Annoyance was very weird and very gay or queer, genderqueer, whatever. We didn't even have words for it then. And lots more women.
Mm-hmm.
And the I.O. was kind of, guys named Pat in hockey jerseys,
Beer drinking.
Very much more of a guy's energy.
Yeah.
And there weren't a lot of women in it, and they were sort of sprinkled out in almost like a tokenistic way.
One per team.
Yeah. One of the best things about my time as a professional in comedy is how many more women's voices are being heard. And that sounds artsy-fartsy. We're getting a sense of women's funny.
Yes.
And women's funny is different than men's funny.
Yeah.
To me, I'm always most excited by the funny that I haven't heard before. And I love it.
Well, I remember when I moved to New York, the Upright Citizens Brigade Theatre was already there, the 22nd Street space.
Yeah.
And once I saw an ASCAT, I probably didn't miss one for like 9 months.
Yeah.
And they were great improvisers. Like, on any given day, it could be like the Four Uprights and then like Brian Stack, like Ollie Farinakian, Adam McKay.
Yeah.
Like,
those are big comedy brains. That's
oh my God.
Too.
And then you had like Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch, Miriam Tolan, like just awesome females too. But I remember they would introduce the players at the beginning of the show. And then you'd be like, okay, we're in good hands or whatever. But whenever they introduced the players, and it didn't matter how great the improvisers were, but if there was no women on stage, you just knew it was going to be a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no,
it's lacking in balance.
Yeah. The interesting thing, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things about the early Upright Citizens Brigade period. But if you just take ASCAT alone, if you're looking at that stage, got Amy Poehler, Matt Besser, Matt Walsh, Ian Roberts, Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch, Adam McKay, Horatio Sands, Ollie Farinakian, all Chicago people.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was it obvious that there was like a exodus happening from Chicago to New York, or that just kind of happened like organically, or like there were so many people transplanted?
Yeah, I don't know. I left. I had already gotten the job on... I'd gotten the job on the Brady Bunch, gone to L.A., and I was starting in L.A., and like I did the movie Cabin Boy before anything. That kind of happened at the end of the Brady Bunch, which for people that don't know, there was a show that the Annoyance did called The Real Life Brady Bunch, on stage productions of Brady Bunch episodes done as faithfully as possible to the original.
Yeah.
Very silly, very timely. There was a wave of nostalgia.
Jane Lynch was in
Jane
that,
Lynch
right?
was in it. Yeah, Joey Soloway
nice.
And their sister Faith ran it. And my ex-sister-in-law, Becky Thayer, was the Marcia and sort of the impetus of the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
An amazingly talented group of people doing what I thought, before I heard about it, the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And it was among the funniest things I've ever been involved in.
That's funny. I mean, not funny, but it's interesting based on what you said about the Annoyance being sort of more female and more not as like red meat energy. it makes sense that show would come out of the Annoyance. I never knew that started as an Annoyance thing.
Yeah, it was a rent payer for this theater for a couple of years in Chicago before it then got moved to New York. But it was very funny, and it got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
It was in People magazine, and then we had agents and People. An agent, I went to New York with it because I just was like excited about the notion of, I think I was making $600 a week, which at that time was just mind-blowing. I mean, I was living in New York City, but I sleeping on a friend's futon in the corner of a studio apartment, but not having to have a side job.
Paid to perform.
Yeah. And I got an agent through it and felt very flummoxed by because I was Mike Brady. I wasn't one of the stars of the show. It's one of the most, honey, I'm home. That was pretty much it. But I just sort of took it from there and felt like, well, all right, if they're going to treat me as legit, I'm going to act legit.
Yeah. Follow their lead on this one.
Yeah. And then I did Cabin Boy and was still in L.A. when the whole thing with Conan happened. And, and Robert Smigel asked me if I wanted to meet this guy Conan. I met him. I got on the show. And so I was already in. I don't remember exactly when, but it was fairly early in the run of the Conan show that those guys came out. I'd say within the first couple of years.
Because Andy's little sister... That Amy Poehler was Andy's little sister.
And do you know when the first date of that was?
I'll have to look that
up.
But that was a Brian Stack
That was
bit,
a Brian
right?
Stack bit, yeah. That was early on. There was all kinds of new fake it till you make it kind of stuff that happened when we got that job.
Oh, yeah.
On late night. I mean, Conan and Robert had sort of done legit things, but almost everybody else was new. Almost everybody else was, they were green and fresh off a stage that held, in a room that held 30 people. And one of the things we had to do was casting.
Yeah.
You'd write a bit, they'd call in a bunch of actors and be like, oh, this is New York City, so these are going to be top notch.
Yeah.
And they fucking sucked.
Yeah.
They were not good.
Oh, man.
I mean, person after person, you'd just be like, okay, we'll just use Dorothy or whatever, just pick somebody.
The lesser of the evils.
Yeah. And then when the UCB guys came, it was like, oh, holy shit, because we had at that point been casting where if we wrote this much funny in it, we were just hoping that someone could get to here.
Yeah. Hoping to get to the 75% mark, maybe.
Yeah, you're hire those guys, and they would show you ways that your script was funny
and elevate it,
and they'd give you more than what you had written and more than what you expected, and surprise you, and just be so fucking good.
Yeah.
And then they started teaching people. Andy Daly's and,
Paul Scheer,
Rob Riggles and Paul Shears and Hubel and all those kind of people. And so there's all these new, fantastic, funny people coming in with the same kind of philosophy, training,
which goes
idea.
Back to the same, the Del Close, Charna Halpern, it's like a language, and once you speak it, you can be thrown in with people you don't know, and you'll still find common ground in the scene, And
you're also, generally speaking, you can't be a showboating asshole.
Yeah.
You get rejected from that ecosystem.
Yeah.
In Chicago, more so at I.O., at Improv Olympic or Improv Olympia or whatever it was called at the time. There were some people that everybody would be like, okay, this is the point at which this guy does this thing that he always does.
This thing in there.
That the audience fucking loves.
Yeah.
And if you looked, you'd see everybody else on stage patiently waiting for him to get done with it so that you could all move on with the stuff that you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And that was very frowned upon. And I mean, and Del Close would say,
momentum killer.
Don't do that. If you, and it was also, and when it was a little bit
and Del Close could be a pretty stern.
Oh, he could be fucking mean as shit. Yeah. But, the whole idea was if you did something once and it worked, you can't do it again.
No, that's the
You're
whole point.
You're always supposed to be challenging yourself and always discovering new things, which doesn't make the most sense in a professional realm.
Yeah.
But you learn to sort of balance. But people are like, what characters did you used to do? And I'm like, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was always evolving and always morphing,
Yeah. It takes a while to trust that.
Yeah. All of a sudden you're around the funniest people in the world.
Yeah.
And you're all pouring drink and drugs down yourself and being even funnier.
Well, one of the cool things about the kind of intersection between UCB and late night, and also something that I always am more and more interested in, the more I hear about your influence of like who was in the writer's room, especially in those early days, because you got like Dorff, McCann, Stack. Was Blacha your roommate?
Tommy Blacha. Yeah, Tommy Blacha, I mean, still sort of is my best. I mean, as much as an old man like me can have a best friend, he was my best friend. He had been my roommate in college and is still probably one of the funniest people in the world. I don't think he got the job right away. I think we were on the air for a little while. And he came in and...
Kylie was...
Because
was Kylie Day long?
Kylie, Chuck Sklar, Louis C.K. was a Boston guy. Tom Agnew was a Boston... There were different Boston stand-up people that were in there during the early days. And then there were the Chicago people that were Dino Stamatopoulos and those guys that you mentioned. And
Glazer.
And Glazer was Detroit through Chicago. But Tommy came in and, and at the time, too, he had like big lamb chop sideburns, which these fucking guys, like I remember when Tommy came in, they were all just like put off by this weird guy.
He's a big presence.
This weird rocker with like, and I guess Chuck Sklar was sitting in Conan's office one day and the windows were open over 6th Avenue and there was the clip clop of a horse carriage. And Chuck Sklar said something about, that's that new writer heading home because his wife's got the milk sickness. Which is it's so fucking stupid, like it's just so funny that there's so many comedians that are just like, sort of pearl clutchers about stuff.
Yeah.
But very quickly people started to realize how funny Tommy was.
God.
And Tommy's the type of person that makes less funny people funnier.
I thought of him earlier because when you were talking about trying to cast not funny people in comedic roles. Like his Seinfeld audition thing came to mind or whatever, which was basically just him off camera, just trying to coach people into like talking like Seinfeld.
Talking like Seinfeld,
And just an interesting general thing is comedy writer is kind of a weird term. Like it doesn't cover the whole, especially at a place like late night, because writing is obviously a part of it. But you're also like producing and like directing your stuff. So a comedy writer can be a bunch of different things. Like some people are very writerly, other people are just very visual and come up with the bigger kind of like
they settle into roles of like this is more of like a word guy or this guy like he contributes good ideas, but he's such a good performer that we keep him around for that. And then there's guys like Scott Gardner who
Gardner was
really
who
ends
director,
up being like who is there as a writer and he's a funny guy and that's kind of where he comes from, but he ends up being like let him shoot things. Like,
we got a cold open. Gardner.
And I'd say like most of the performers that ended up like doing regular recurring bits were the Chicago guys.
Like McCann and Stack.
Were the Chicago guys because there is a difference in the training that you get doing improv and the training that you get. It's much more sketch. And there's a difference in the training that you get as a stand-up. If you wrote a piece that involved going out and shooting something with extras and you basically were making a little short film.
Quickly.
Very quickly. And every bit of that piece, from the writing to the casting to the editing to the music to the costumes, you did all that. That. You were a director of that little piece. So it is really good training if you want to be interested in the kind of the holistic aspects. And some people aren't. Some people are kind of like...
It can be intimidating.
I just want to write the thing and then somebody can go shoot it. I don't, Or like an issue that comes up is a lot of writers don't know how to talk to actors. And so they cast something and it might be kind of a tricky performance thing and they just don't know how to get the people to do it. Some of them get frustrated. Like, you're not doing it the way I'm imagining. It's like, well, that's not on them,
Not all great players are great coaches.
Yes, right.
Do you remember, I'm sure you remember it, but we did that Andy Richter Coast to Coast piece where I think it was like a car integration or something.
Oh, yeah.
But basically...
I didn't remember that's what it was called.
Yeah. So Brian McCann was the writer in charge.
Yeah.
And it was you driving a car, quote unquote.
Some little new compact Chevy.
Yeah.
It was not a bad little car. It was kind of a cute little car. And the idea was, because we were doing a week of shows at the Beacon in New York, was that I would drive there from LA and that I drove there, which I did, but I think I drove for about 4 hours because it was basically, there was the car, I think 3 Teamsters that would rotate the driving, and then basically a rock and roll tour bus kind of. And there was you and Roey and somebody else, I think.
Rao.
Oh, and John Rao, yeah. And then me and McCann, we had itineraries to different places that we were just going to stop and do stuff with. But mostly McCann and I sat in the tour bus, and he drank some more, and then I smoked weed more. We were just drinking and smoking weed as we went across the country.
Yeah. Oh, Blay was there. Yeah, because Blay and I would do the video stuff.
Yeah, because you were cutting while we were going, too.
Yeah, like ingesting footage. And because we went, I guess it's 40 now, but it was basically the old Route 66 is where we started off. And then we went to the Meteor Crater.
Yeah, we picked different things, and we had a more ambitious thing, but we realized we're running out of time.
Yeah, there's only so many places you could hit.
And I was timing it where I'd be like, okay, the next thing is in 4 hours. All right, I can get high now and hang out with McCann and fuck around.
And you guys are making up these crazy gambling games because Blay and I would come in and be like, oh, we got to get like some B-roll out of this window. And then you'd have this weird like fold out cardboard with like cards and dice and money. And
that was something Rao. That was more John Rao, who's a prop guy, who is like, John is like family now. I mean, that's a cliche, but it's like,
he's definitely one of my favorite people.
Truly, I mean, I've known John now for 30 years, and he feels like a relative when like a beloved cousin or something. But and it was a really good crew of people, and we really had fun.
We were going to go, I don't know if you remember this, but we were going to go to the Breaking Bad car wash.
Yes.
But then it was going to be at night.
Yes.
And so we were like, all right, let's do it. And then I think we went to the big Texan place
in Amarillo. And we ate, which was at night too, and ate the 72-ounce shoe leather steak or something. God. It was so nasty.
That thing looked so.
It was
like just watching you try to cut into it.
It looks like a scab. Or callus that was shaved off of a giant's thumb or something.
We were going to go to Memphis because we wanted to go to Rendezvous Barbecue
and
on
we
your
went
birthday.
To the Stax Museum. Yeah,
and that was awesome. But then I guess it probably would have been before this because Little Rock was very close to Memphis, but we all took showers at a truck stop in Little Rock.
Yes, we did.
One of the best showers I can remember.
I'd never done that before. It was like you rent just basically a very clean motel bathroom.
Yeah.
And it was a godsend.
I know.
Because we were getting shitty and funky,
It's almost like something that would be at like a Japanese airport or something.
Yes.
It's like this, this is great. Little private shower situation.
And also you get in there and it's like smells so strongly of bleach that it puts your mind at ease. Like, okay, hey, this whole thing has been dunked.
So one interesting thing that happened over time, and I guess there were, like you were saying, stand-ups in the writer's room already, but as time went on, it kind of started to lean more stand-up, like in the writer's room. There were more like Andre Dubuchet, Cronin, Levin, like, or did it not feel that way to you?
Well, no,
there was always
like
that mixture?
Andre Dubuchet, I would not think of him as a stand-up.
Okay, gotcha.
I would think of him as like some kind of comedic performance artist.
Yes.
And like Todd, they weren't your sort of standard
they're not like what else?
Yeah,
what else?
Yeah. They're very different. And I mean, Conan did need, because there was one aspect of his job that was like, he's going to be a stand-up comedian for 5 minutes a show.
Yeah.
So he definitely needed people that could write the jokes for that little world.
The monologue writers.
And then and sort of, I don't know if mentor is the word, but sort of provide a framework so that he could understand that particular kind of performing. And because then he would stop, he'd go back to the desk and it's a whole different kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there were lots of sketch writers too. There were lots of just kind of like Alec Berg and Jeff Schaefer came through there for a minute.
That's Silicon Valley, right? Alec Berg.
Yeah. And Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm, I think is Schaefer.
Oh, wow.
Coleman and Andy Blitz.
Yep.
Andrew Weinberg, like people have gone on to do things like Jury Duty, Eagle Heart, like
Jonathan Groff is
powerhouse.
Yeah,
Jonathan Groff he's very much a showrunner now. Like he came in after there was sort of a weird succession of head writers on the Conan show that Robert Smigel was there in the beginning, and I think just burned so bright and hot that he just had to step away. And honestly, Louis C.K. was supposed to then fill in, and Louis had said,
head writer?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Louis, but he had already left. He'd just because there were a lot of people too that I thought, this is an intense experience, and I got to keep moving. Like I got to, and I think as a stand-up too, people, like a lot of stand-ups that come into a position like that, this job is secondary.
Yeah.
They're like doing this as a side gig, basically. But their eye is always on their stand-up career, which is understandable, and especially with Louis C.K. Robert was leaving, and Louis said, yeah, I'll do it. And then, like, moments before he was supposed to start, had, like, a freak out and was like, you know what, I just left. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't want to come back. I don't want the job.
Head writer is a hard
It's a lot.
job.
And it takes a lot of stuff besides being funny.
Yeah.
They've almost always hired from within at the Conan show. So it went to a guy named Marsh McCall, and he ran it for about a year, but I always felt like he had his eye on LA stuff. And then when he left, Jonathan Groff, who had been there kind of when Robert left, I think it just started, is just perfect. He's just like one of the most perfect head writer people I've ever known, because he's a very funny person. He has a wonderful personality that makes everyone feel appreciated and liked and valuable.
Yeah.
There's not ego in him in terms of like if a funnier idea comes along, he gets out of the way.
Best idea wins.
And not even for a second does he worry about that. And he also is fun. Like he was like the person that would be like, guys, we got to get this written. And then somebody would come in and say, let's throw this trash can down the stairs. And he'd be like, all right, yeah, let's do that. Like he was always ready for just mayhem and fun. And I love him so much. And he ran Andy Barker P.I., my second sitcom. So I got to work with him during that, and that was a real thrill. He's one of my favorite people on earth. So yeah, he was great. And then after him, Sweeney came in, and then Sweeney did it for fucking ever,
Yeah, Mike Sweeney is one of my favorite people from that whole enterprise.
Mike has the same thing. Mike is an incredibly funny guy, like to the point where sometimes he did the Mark Twain Prize. Mm-hmm. There was a dinner before
this was honoring Conan.
Yeah, this is honoring Conan. Yeah. This is Conan basically getting the Congressional Medal of Honor for being funny. Saturday night, there's a dinner. It's this big fucking room, and it's of course all like big wigs. It's all the Kennedy Center like subscribers and all the people that throw us money. And Mike Sweeney emceed the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And he's such a lovely, kind, considerate person. And then he was up there, and it's like, and I don't see him do stand-up anymore. And then like I said to Conan later, it's like, you forget that he is a knife.
Oh my God.
That he fucking can slice and dice.
Yeah.
And he made fun of because some president of Wells Fargo was sponsoring the whole thing. And he fucking roasted this table of Wells Fargo people in a way that was like just so artful, because it wasn't like anything they could really get mad about.
Yeah.
But it was like just like
strategically hilarious.
Basically pantsed them and was like, ha ha, look at you in your underwear. And he's amazing too. He's an amazing manager of people.
Yeah.
And Mike did it for so long, and he and Conan had such a beautiful, dysfunctional, sick, wonderful relationship. They're still doing stuff together.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that he's obviously a huge part of the international shows.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'd fill in as the on-set photographer.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
Yeah. If Megan Sinclair had to do something, was out of town or an appointment or something.
Had a baby or something.
So I'd be up on the third floor, like near your office, actually.
Yeah.
But that's when I kind of got a sense of the weight on the shoulders of Sweeney or whatever. Because people would put up their bits at rehearsal.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like a huge scramble to figure out, like, if something was going to be on the show but it needed a lot of work. And I was like, oh my God. Like I would just feel the urgency.
Yeah. And some days were much, much more stressful than others.
Yeah.
For the head writer to come down to rehearsal, there is a bit of like, I've brought my wares to market and here, look what I have for you, And I know from doing props, say you got to pick out a couch at the time, you'd go and you'd Polaroid couches. And I might Polaroid 25 couches, but I'm not going to show them 25. I'm going to show, and I'm not even going to show them 10. I'm going to show them 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And I know there's 1 or 2 that are like, that I like the best. And I know that there's 2 that there's just no fucking way it's going to happen. And then there's 2 kind of in the middle. You have to control their ability to make a decision.
Yeah.
Not say like, here, you pick between these 2.
Yeah.
That's insulting.
Yeah.
Pick between these 10 is stymieing.
Yeah. You get paralyzed.
But pick between these 4 or 5 and then everybody's happy and they probably end up going with the one you want anyway. And if they don't, who gives a shit? It's their Montgomery Ward's commercial.
Yeah.
But I think it was kind of the same thing where Mike would come down to the floor and there might be a bit that's like, this one, nobody really thinks this is going to happen. It's just to sort of pad out the menu.
Yeah.
No one's going to eat this entree.
Yeah, because you always have a list of bits going into rehearsal.
Yes. And Conan and I were pretty brutal, and I'd say Conan and I, because one of the greatest gifts he gave me was made me very much a partner in the process of,
for sure,
what we're actually going to do on the show that night.
Yeah.
And actually relied on me a lot for triage. And I got to be good at very quick diagnoses and fixes.
Yeah.
Like, this thing is good. It just needs a new ending. I think this ending should be like that.
Yeah.
And it was something that Conan was open to in the beginning. And then I got better at it. And then he continued to sort of rely on me for that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is very flattering. And I know he loves me and I know he respects my sense of humor. But there's also part of when you're in that role, everybody, unless they're stupid and an asshole, needs someone to go, yo, look at that joke. Is that good?
Yeah.
And needs somebody to go, it is good.
Yeah.
Or somebody to go, it's not good. Because you can think something, and I've done it a million times. I got an idea for a bit. This is fucking great. Yeah. You tell 3 people and they're like, eh. And then it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
I have to take their word for it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to sabotage me. You're not always right, and you end up having to the other rule of doing a show like that is, sure, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's an artist. Everybody's funny. But for the sake of getting us all home to our families, there's one person has to have the say. Like, yes, all 3 of these ideas are funny, but we're going to do this one. And now shut up about the other 2. Because that's just how it is. It's just got to work where there's got to be one person that goes, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And there are writers that they have a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
They are very much in love with their ideas.
Yeah.
And I get it to a certain extent, but then I also, it's like having children in a war zone. Like, don't get too attached to them. There's a lot of death and destruction, Like, what are you going to do?
Are you going to really name your goldfish?
Yeah.
All right.
You got to be brutal. Tommy Blatchett told me, we were talking about this in the early days, and he said about ideas, he said, pitch it once. If they turn it down and you don't really believe in it, let it go. If you do believe in it, you think they're not understanding, pitch it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And if they turn it down then, unless you think that they're insane and they're like missing out on a fucking hidden gem, pitch it the 3rd time. Only do that very rarely.
Yeah.
And after that, let it go.
Yeah.
Just, it's gone. It's done. It's not going to happen. Let it go.
Yeah.
Because when I came out here, it's a very different thing in terms of somebody pitching something and then how you react to the pitch. On the Conan show, we were, the metaphor I've used is we were laying track for a train that you can hear. It's coming. You hear the woo woo, and it's like, we got this fucking track down or it's going to crash.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. The train is already heading
it's on its way. So let's lay this track and keep moving. So when somebody says, how about this? Now, okay, how about this? Oh, actually, that might,
Yeah.
Out here in a sitcom room, what if he said this? I think that is really funny. But I'm not so sure that this would be, when I started at Andy Richter Controls the Universe, and I'd be like, what are you fucking talking about? Like somebody pitches something and you're like, nah.
Yeah.
And they were like, wow, you're really tough.
The writer's room just felt a lot different. Like,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There was much more like protecting people's feelings and having to kind of baby them and stuff.
And that could be good for season 2 or like.
Or they would say to me, like the writers, after a while, they'd say like, you're a pretty tough laugh. I would be like, no, I'm not.
Interesting.
These fuckers will pitch something and they'll laugh at their own jokes.
Why would you want to introduce that idea to somebody?
Because it's grease that they've all gotten used to sliding around in.
Oh, okay.
And to me, it's like a magician. If we're magicians and you show me a trick, I can go, oh, that's really good. But I don't go like, oh my God, you have Satan in you. And it's the same thing with comedy. You can say, here, what about this? You go, oh, that's really great. That's funny. And you move on. You don't go, oh my God, it's hilarious. You just go, okay, yeah, that'll work.
The reward is we're going to do that joke.
Yeah, you're building something. We're carpenters. Hammer the nails and move on. This is the big playground. We're going to get some bruises. We're going to get some scrapes.
But I think it kind of comes back to the improv thing where I don't know if this is like one of those things like a yes and or play to your top of intelligence. I don't know if it's been like summed up in one phrase or whatever. But one thing that occurred to me when I started doing UCB was like, you can't think of ideas as like finite. You have to be like, okay, I'll have another idea. Like,
you're leading to a point that I am going to make. When I was in Chicago, there was a bit that I never did it on stage. Maybe I did it once because somebody made me. But there was this bit that I did. And it's because my favorite bar one night a week was Irish music night. My nice, quiet bar would get completely overrun by deedle-dee. And I fucking had this like, oh, this is fucking Irish music,
Oh, so you like the bar on the non-Irish.
Non-Irish nights.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I had this personal grudge, you know. It was sitting in the corner of that bar one night during that thing. And I just was doing this Irish folk singer that would have these long, maudlin, tragic setups to these songs and then get to them and like pick one note and go like, wait, you know what? I'm going to do another one. And then do the same thing and just never play a song. And I mean, it was a funny bit and all these guys loved it. And somebody took it and used it to audition for a sketch comedy show and got the job.
Did they ask you to?
No, they just, somebody, and I never saw the tape, but somebody told me like, he's doing and this guy was a very musical guy and probably did it better than I did. But at the time I was like, okay. The guy was kind of a dick for doing it. He was a dick in lots of different ways too. Also sort of like tragic and sad in many ways too.
Oh man.
But at the time, people were like infuriated.
On your behalf.
And on my behalf. And I said, I can make more. I can make more. And that's what you have to believe.
Yes.
If you're going to do this, you have to think of yourself, as you said, a bottomless well of ideas. And not be too attached to any of them. Otherwise, if you are, here's my idea, it's not going to work, and you get really fucking upset by it, what is probably underneath that is the fear that I'm not going to come up with something better than that.
If they don't say yes to this, I'm fucked.
That I don't have more of these. So this one, you got to do this because I'm not an infinite well of ideas.
Good luck.
But baby, you can be if you believe it. And you're letting fear run it. And if you're going to do this kind of stuff, you have to banish fear. You know, I mean, I don't mean it to be some macho thing, but it is like, another one of my things is you can't give a shit. Which doesn't mean you don't care. It means that it's a Zen openness to whatever happens, which in my vernacular is, I don't give a shit. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to make sure this thing is good. But you're telling me it might not go great? All right, whatever, We'll all live through it.
It was pretty early on in the Conan show, and Frank Smiley, who's, been there forever and a big part of just setting the tone of that show, I would say. Like,
he's a segment producer, but also like came up with comedic ideas, and a lot of comedic ideas with guests.
Yeah.
And also is very much a character.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm not someone to yell at people in anger, and I think I've yelled at him in anger at least 4 or 5 times in my life, just to basically be like, get out of my office and shut up.
Yeah.
And I love him. And he's still in my life and everything, but...
Yeah, he's a well-loved guy, but
he can be an irritant, and he knows it.
Yeah.
And revels in it, too, I think.
By the time we were at Conan, we weren't doing as much guest comedy,
right.
like during the interview stuff.
Sure.
And so at one point, I think he had something in mind for a guest, and it was decided that it wasn't going to happen. And so I was like in the green room, I think, when that discussion happened or whatever.
Yeah.
And Smiley goes, well, I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is, not a half bad way to go through life.
Yes.
Honestly, like you're going to do your best, but you're also open to any possibility.
Yes.
Which can seem like this doesn't matter to you. And it's like, well, it does, but then again, nothing matters.
Yeah. It's Thursday.
Nothing matters in this life. And, the roof could fall in. What are you going to do,
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I really appreciate you doing this show.
Thanks, Will. I was happy to be here.
Yeah, and it's fun to be back at a podcast studio with you since the early 3 questions days.
Yeah, you were there in the early days, and then COVID squashed it.
Yeah, the see ya in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Cut 2.
Yeah, because I was in the studio with Dion Cole.
Oh, yeah.
The day, and I will always remember that was the day that I went home and felt like, I guess we're not doing anything. Like everything's canceled now.
Yeah.
That podcast studio, I did not set foot in that building for another year.
Yeah.
Like a year.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. I was one of the people that went and walked through the control room and decided which things to keep and what was e-waste and all that stuff. It was very weird, Irish goodbye and just the whole thing. The TV show was done at Conan's house, and then it was at Largo, but we just never went back.
We never went back.
Warner Brothers, yeah.
Which I felt was a blessing. It would have been weird and sad if the show had kind of just petered out in its same space, but COVID sort of brought it to it made it a different thing, and then a different thing, and then a different thing, and then it was over, And those final months in Largo also, too, were simplifying because, on the regular show, Conan and I sometimes wouldn't see each other until rehearsal. And then after rehearsal, we'd go our separate ways. And then there'd be the monologue meeting. At Largo, we got to spend those last however many months, really in proximity to each other and spend lots of time together.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I loved that part of the show.
And Chalemi was there. I remember talking to Mark Flanagan, who runs Largo, and I didn't realize... It kind of snuck up on me that we were there for a whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was a great thing for that theater, and it was a great thing for us. But he has a lot of affection for Conan people.
Oh, very much so.
Shalemi in particular.
Yeah.
He singled out, he's like, I love chills or whatever.
Yeah.
And luckily we had the little window of you don't have to wear a mask. You can be in a theater. And so people got to be in in-person audiences.
And it did kind of, to me, it was also sort of it was so simple. We were doing a show there for a while where there was only 6 people in the theater.
Yeah.
And it still was television.
Yeah.
It wasn't 70 people and all kinds of fuss, but it still was like television. It still was enjoyable. I still felt proud of it.
I didn't think about it as sort of being boiled down to the essence. But that makes sense.
It did. It was. It was just him and me talking to each other, and then bits that we would do that couldn't have a lot of prop stuff, couldn't have a lot of other actors. It really had to be sort of Marie Kondo. Yeah.
They had to give you joy or can't do it.
Can't do it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andy.
Sure. Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Andy Richter. I loved getting the chance to talk to Andy about the Chicago improv scene and how that fed into both Late Night with Conan O'Brien as well as the Upright Citizens Brigade Theatre. One of my favorite things about working at Conan was being able to watch rehearsal, which was always on the feed. So it was cool hearing Andy describe that process and his role in it. Andy's zen art of not giving a shit makes total sense to me, and I've seen it in action. It's basically just not being too precious and having faith that a better idea is on the way. It also makes me happy that his podcast, The 3 Questions with Andy Richter, is still going strong. The Andy Richter Call-In Show is also highly entertaining and is available on the 3 Questions feed. Life in Comedy is recorded at Jet Road Studios. Please rate and review the show on places like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on Instagram. And please check out jetroadstudios.com and sign up for the mailing list. Thanks for listening.